Thank you so much all for joining. This presentation is being recorded and my name is Prashant Kumar. You can see me on the camera, and along with me, I have Raj Tekchandani. He's from Boston. Let me just talk about a little bit about myself, and then I will introduce Raj. I am here in Long Island, New York. My name is Prashant Kumar. I have this company called My Realty Gains. If you go to myrealtygains.com, you will see, cute website which I have created. A little bit about my company. I don't have to talk about that, but about myself. A strong technology and management background. Own about 100 units. Last year we did about 1,200 units in GP capacity. Basically bringing the projects straight from the beginning till the closure. And the fundamental practice is to bring value to the investors. That's what we do. Is we do multifamily. We have done heavy lifts, and today we're going to share one more deal that we recently signed the contract for.
More money.
And towards the end,
I see 2 banks in there.
I'm going to put you guys on mute, guys. Sorry about that. And I've been exploring assisted living market also for last year or so. We have acquired assisted living facilities, in California. I've been out there willing to share, been a mentor to few students, and we plan to do more syndications and more assisted livings in California. So that was just my introduction a little bit, just to set the ground who we are talking to. Next thing is with me, I have, Raj. This is my contact information, Prashant at Multifamily Realty Gains. My phone number 631-428-6479. So Raj, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining me, and I'm going to stop sharing for now because this is going to be an interactive session. And Raj is the president of Smart Capital that he founded, I think, a couple of years ago, Raj.
It's been 3 years, 2-3 years, yeah.
About 3-4 years. And he has been my mentor in terms of digital marketing. I have learned a lot from him, and I'm following some of his footsteps in my websites and in my digital marketing. And he has been doing multifamilies for quite a long time. And I know him, even though I did not know him for a long time, but I have a strong relationship with him because, I graduated from a school, one of the greatest schools in India in 95, and I think he graduated in 91.
Before you. Let's just keep it that way.
Was it? Okay. So I just happened to know that he, while talking to him, he said, he's from the same school. And basically, he happened to be senior. I always respect my seniors, so I always call him sir, Raj sir, So from that perspective, he's a good friend. And he's very, very active. He runs a meetup. Now obviously webinars, and he's out there. In Boston, he's a very well-known name. So today I invited him to share his thoughts about digital marketing. How digital marketing can help us in real estate business. That's the topic today. And we do not have any slides. We do not believe in slides, obviously. And we want to make it as interactive as possible. So, shoot all your questions, whatever you have about digital marketing. You have the guru in front of you today to talk about it. And if he cannot answer, I'll try to help him wherever I can. So Raj sir, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking time today to come on this call. Whichever way you want to start, please feel free. start.
Well, thank you, Prashant. Thank you for having me on the show. You've been doing wonderful things, and I'm glad to see some familiar names on the chat list here. A few names that I've been in association in the past. So thank you everybody for joining. I told Prashant, let's this be an interactive session. I can share my story, how I got started, what am I doing these days, and where are we going from here. But again, this session should be interactive as much as we can. So I'll tell you my background. As Prashant said, graduated in undergrad in computer science a long time ago. Then been in the Boston area for, I think, 25 years or so. But I actually was been in engineering technology for most of my career, right? I mean, I worked for a bunch of startups here in the Boston area. Before that, I was in Austin, Texas. But at some point, that's 2012, I think, when the market had gone down and was just coming back up, got an opportunity to invest in a single family condominium in Orlando. It just was an accident. And as soon as the cash flow started coming in, I said, this is great, man. I mean, I don't have to do much with this. And cash flows are coming in. If I keep repeating this model, maybe someday I can quit my job. So I, bought one condo after the other. I bought 9 condos in Orlando. That was exciting. But it was a lot of work. I mean, it's 9 condos managing. So I got introduced to the world of multifamily. I said, hey, this is great. So my next step would be multifamily. And I invested in a multifamily 15-unit property here in the Boston area, which again turned out to be, more work than I had thought. Again, it's one property. So good things are there. There's less, management headache in terms of, number of bills, the number of taxes that you'd file. So as I did that along, the cash flows got better, and I said, this is great. So I got more excited about multifamily and got introduced to the world of syndication. And syndication was a perfect fit for me because I like the whole team playing aspects of it. It's not me alone doing everything. And as probably people on the call here know, syndication is a team sport. Just have to find the right partners with complementing strengths. And which happened to me as part of a coaching group. I found some great partners, figured out that, my strength was in marketing and data. By the way, I had worked in a lot of data analytics and marketing roles before in my startups. So I think it was 2017, 18, when I said, what, this is great. I am going to do this full time. I had invested passively in a few deals and the cash flow is coming in. And I said, this is it. I mean, I'm going to just take a leap of faith. My stock options had all been vested. The option was to go do another startup or do this full time. And I said, let's do this full time. And that's where I got started in multifamily syndication world full time. Made a lot of broker connections and broker calls and eventually ended up, doing a lot of marketing and due diligence for our projects. And as had it, being in the marketing background, I said, okay, how can we do this process better? And how can we find investors? How can we, keep investors? And that's how my journey began. That's my background, Prashant. If you have any specific question, if anybody has any question on that, happy to answer.
No, very good. Thank you so much for that introduction, Raj. I would like to ask you a question around the topic of our webinar today. I want to understand what do you feel about digital marketing, how the digital marketing has helped you in your business, and what would you share with the audience here that giving them the value?
Absolutely. So digital marketing is is in any field that you do. I mean, this marketing is an important game, and now with technology tools available, I think makes the whole marketing easy. And that's what basically digital marketing is. Leveraging some technology tools to do this so that your effort is less and your returns are more. So the whole aspect began when, I got excited about whole multifamily syndication. I said, okay, let me just start talking about it because I was trying to market our deals to people, and I realized there was not too many people who knew about syndication, multifamily, and the benefits of that. Investments to people meant, investing in Wall Street and whatever that is, and not too many people. And basically investing in real estate, people thought it's okay, I'm going to buy a rental property and rent it out and make income from that. That's my investment in real estate, which is right in a way, but I think that's not the only way. In fact, that's the harder way, in my opinion, because you still have to deal with your tenants, your toilets, and trash. So there's ways of doing it without being a landlord, and that's where the syndication comes in. Going back to digital marketing, right? I mean, it's part of your closing a deal is in syndication specifically is a lot of a capital raise, right? I mean, is your equity. You have to build an equity base. You have to build an investor base, people who are willing to partner with you in your deals, right? So how do you go about doing that? And that's where the marketing comes in. Like I said, it's to attract a wide variety of people that may have or may not have known about you or marketing, or multifamily. So how do you kind of reach out to them? That's where your marketing journey begins. So you kind of start, blogging, or you're coming on the podcast, or you're doing things like that. And that's how you gradually start your digital marketing process. You have to take a topic, talk about it. And I kind of blended the whole digital marketing and physical marketing of it in a sense that I was very passionate about educating, because I learned that very quickly that this is a game that have to educate people, market to people, make them understand, make them believe in the concept of syndication, make them believe in you, and that all takes an effort, right? So my journey began starting writing blogs, and I started networking with people in the Boston area, but a lot of networking groups that I found were either wholesaling, flipping. So I said, that's not my interest, and I'm not really here to drink beer, shake hands. So I started my own sort of meetup group in Boston, purely focused on multifamily syndications. It's called Apartment Investing in Multifamily Syndication, AIMS for short. If you go to meetup.com, you can find it. And basically started with 4 people, friends of mine who said, come over, I'll, buy some food and I'll buy some wine, listen to me. And this was multifamily syndication one-on-one. And they got excited. We had another session, and the meetup kept on growing. And as the meetup kept on growing, I said, this is great place to write blogs on. So I started writing blogs. I created my website, and slow and behold, people got interested in knowing more, and I got a lot of queries on email. So that's how my journey began in the whole digital marketing space. And I can go more details on what tools, anything, but I want to pause here, make sure everybody's on board. And if there's any questions, I'll take it.
Yes, so there are not many questions yet, but I think what people are more interested, would be interested in, yes, everybody knows about Facebook nowadays, LinkedIn nowadays, but what is that specifically that we do, right? I mean, I know we write blog, but I mean, we want to get into nitty-gritty details on what should people do as a syndicator, right? How this can help us.
Yeah.
If we want to take a step-by-step approach, just maybe 5 steps, that this is what people should do.
So I think the first thing is any syndicator or any real estate professional in that case is constantly keep educating your, I wouldn't say investor, because there's a world of people out there, but start building an investor base. For that, you have to constantly be feeding them knowledge, add value to them. That is the biggest and the most important thing is. You will find people on Facebook, LinkedIn, forwarding and copying posts and, doing thumbs ups and likes and all that. That's not adding value. Unless you add value, that's where you start, being meaningful to people, and people start really paying attention to you. So that's where I said, the first thing, if anybody's looking to do, what should I do first? Believe in adding value to the community. And second thing is, start, building your, be consistent, right? So you add value and be consistent on it. If you pick any of the digital marketing channels, of YouTube, Facebook, or, podcast, or, webinars, or whatever you do, keep it consistently doing, right? You can't do a webinar and then forget about, okay, I've done a webinar, I'll do another one in one next quarter. No, you have to keep consistent. Same thing with blogs, right? Keep writing. And that's how you build up. And, at some point, the Google algorithms will pick you up, and, the things will follow in place. And that's how you build, more interaction.
So when you say, and again, pardon me if I'm going too much into details, when you write something on Facebook, would you write it directly on the Facebook, or you write the blog in your website and put the link in the Facebook?
So, That's a good question. So I do various of different things, right? So sometimes I write a blog on my website and I forward a link of that to LinkedIn, to Facebook and Instagram, other places. So, start one place. The other times I would start a write article on LinkedIn, take that link and post it to Facebook, mention it in my newsletter, and sometimes on bigger pockets. All these channels you have to keep on exploring and, keep going in circle to keep making sure you're staying active in all these different channels.
Okay.
And because you have these links coming from each other to, from my website to LinkedIn or LinkedIn to my website, and Google algorithms pick these up and it gets smarter, and that's how you get, more SEO. So, I mean, fortunately for me, if you type in Google multifamily syndication, try it out. The very first link that you'll get is my link.
Wow. Wow, that's good. The guys try it out while I'm monitoring the chat box here. Okay. So,
I actually tried it before I joined in. So, it's because sometimes I think, Joe Fairless is number 2. Did he catch up for me? I said, okay, go check again. But I still remain top of the list. Non-paid ads, by the way. Paid ads sometimes will, but anyway, just to say that this kind of consistency will get you to, it is. And right now, if I, when I find new people who want to talk to me, my first question is, how did you find me? He says, I just typed syndication in Google and your name showed up. I said, that's great. That's marketing. It's paying its results.
Yeah. So Brendan is asking, how often do you write blogs? Yeah, is it weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? What should be the frequency to improve our organic rank on any of these channels?
I think at the beginning, I was writing one blog per week. Maybe on LinkedIn or Facebook, LinkedIn or on my website itself. And then I slowed down to once in 2 weeks, and then I think now I'm becoming a little lazy, and I've focused on other things. But that is how I started off. At least once in 2 weeks, I would say you write a blog, and then make sure that the blog circulates with links to different aspects of social media.
No, so the question would be, how much can you write? That's the fundamental question, because you cannot go too much into depth, right, in your blogs. You can only be at the periphery, and at the periphery, you can only write so much. You can twist your content one way or the other. The challenge that some of us, at least I have in front of me, is if I have written 10, 15 blogs, after that, unless I go pick up one particular topic or one particular property, start talking about that property, I don't have much to write anymore. Do you come across that situation? What is your...
I have more ideas than I can write on. For me, it's the other way around. I keep on thinking, so, just take COVID. I know there's a lot of noise about COVID, but why am I still investing in times of COVID, right? I did some investment recently. Why did I do that? Just talk about that. And how do we manage our properties during COVID? Talk about, cash reserves that are needed. So all those things, you can think about topics that can, how to vet, your sponsors during these times. There's so many things. And that initially when I started off, so what is syndication? What is accelerated depreciation? What is that? So a lot of that was, educating people. And then, I was also part of the Forbes Council, where I write some more on the Forbes itself. And there one article that I wrote was this whole value add, right? Forced depreciation. And that got up, that got a lot of praise as well. So just, keep writing on things like, not too many people write on Forbes. And then again, when you write, make sure that your headline is catchy, right?
Yeah.
So for the Forbes article, my headline was 8 + 1 = 10. Right?
Okay.
So how do you do that, right?
Okay.
Somebody who sees that 8 + 2, 8 + 1 = 10, what is he talking about? So then you talk about, when you invest a property of 8 million, you put 1 million on it, you make the value 10 million, right? And you walk them how this happens. Just an example.
Got it. Okay. I'm going to do 5 + 2 = 10.
You'll get more hits than I am then.
No, that's a good point. That's a very good point. It's a very good point.
Yeah.
So basically, how long should be a blog? I'm just focusing on one thing at a time. How long should be?
Should not be too long. You always want to get enough. My intent is every blog should give you enough meaning. First of all, the headline should be catchy. Like, there's too much content out there, so make sure your headlines are catchy. So then make sure that people at least go past the headlines. And then you want to give them some value and then leave them with some, questions, right? I mean, in sense that leave them with a call to action. Hey, he talked me about this whole 10+1, the
Right.
magic of value add. Tell me more, what exactly happens? That's where you say, okay, call to action, follow up with me on a call or follow up with me on other articles. And that's how you do it.
Got it. I think, yeah, that's a very very good point. Every time you write something, there should be some call of action, because if there's no call of action, then it is useless.
100%. And the other thing again in the blogs is, as much as you can refresh people's memory about your other articles. So if you're talking about, let's say forced appreciation, right? Then you talk about how does the formula work? And that maybe you've talked about in another article. How is the value of a property determined? Why divide, cap rate? Basically have links through your blogs to other articles that you have. And that all helps, the whole algorithm helps a lot in spreading the whole thing.
Got it. Okay. I mean, do you still write blogs yourself, or do you give directions to others to, kind of?
I still write, but now I'm looking at topics that are not, common topics. That's why I've slowed down a little bit. There's enough topics of, what is multifamily and what is appreciation. But so I've slowed it down a little bit, but I keep writing. But then again, I have opened up different channels now. So I've hosted webinars now. I've written an email course, as you know. So we can talk about more as I progress from blogs to what did I do next, right?
Yeah. So let's do that. That's a very logical point right now. Yes, you talked a lot about blogs, and blog is something I think everybody should write in some form or the other. I mean, everybody likes to post their pictures. Better than that, write 2 lines about, 2 lines about what you are doing today. What is something that you have done?
Everybody's journey is different, right? Prashant, you and I know your journey was very different from mine. You were I was still a camera shy guy when you were putting out everyday Facebook lives, right? And I was like, how is this guy doing every day? He gets on the camera. I was like, I cannot do that, man. I don't want to be in front of camera. But eventually I got comfortable and, said, okay, I'll record a video and I'll not do a live because I'm too scared of doing live. And I'll record some content in the video format. And I started doing that. And that became a different channel, right? So I have now, why should you join my investor club? What is the benefit of, what is an accredited investor? So some of that, instead of writing the blog, I've done a video explanations now. So we just increased with your other aspects of your marketing. Then we briefly touched upon, before I go into that, so let me talk about lead magnets, right? I don't know if everybody knows here. Very important part is a lead magnet, right? What is a lead magnet? Basically a magnet that attracts leads. In digital marketing world, you have to offer something to your your viewer or your listener or your reader to add value to them, right? So when I had written all these articles on what is syndication and all different aspects of it, I said, you know what? Let me create a small digital book. I called it, Introduction to Passive Real Estate Investing for Beginners, something like that. And I wrote a small guide. It was a collection of different articles I had. And I put that on my website. Hey, download this. This is this is my 2 years of learning, all into this one guide, and you can download it here. All I want from you is your email address to download it, so I can give you more stuff. And when you add value, people will return the favor by giving you your email address. And once you have that, you start building a database of people who are interested in your content. So that's the other thing, right? I mean, so blogging is all good. You can send out as many blogs as possible, and eventually you want to build your database of potential investors. That is the other part of the real estate business, right? It's fun doing all that stuff, but you want to make sure that you're taking those people you have attracted now to the next level of the journey, which is adding value to actually becoming your investors.
Yeah. So my real question is, and fundamental challenge is, yes, we do set up, some marketing thing. We put the lead magnet in a funnel and all that, and you know what I'm talking about. And we haven't talked about yet in detail about funnels here. But you have the lead magnet, but how do you bring the traffic to that lead magnet? You have all the systems set up, lead magnet and everything else below it. But how do you bring the traffic to that lead magnet? I mean, people will give their email address only if they get to lead magnet.
Exactly.
And your lead magnet is sitting on your website. How do you bring traffic to that?
Because you get on a podcast with Prashant Kumar and mention you have something this on your website, right? You get on a podcast with Joe Fairless and say, hey, I have this guide that, nobody else has it. You get onto other channels. So you basically have to self-advertise, sometimes called a shameless plug, but you got to do that, some of that. In your blog, like for example, right, when your blogs are getting out there on, you can just mention, hey, this is, referring to this e-guide that I have written, blah, blah, blah. And you can things just pick up from there. And so I had written, this first lead magnet that did very well. So, a lot of downloads for that. Then I said, what people are still confused about, what are these specific terms, right, in syndication? What is a pref rate? What is a, like I said, accelerated depreciation? What is what is a waterfall? It's like a lot of people asking me the same question. I said, hey, that's a great idea. So I wrote my next lead magnet, which was 50 terms you should know before you invest in a real estate syndication. 50 terms. So it's what is a definition that you and I talk about daily basis. But you know what? Hey, somebody now giving me a dictionary, right? With how great. So I'm going to download his guide. I'm going to download his lead magnet, the 50 terms. By the way, when you download 50 terms, if you have not downloaded my e-guide, there's a link in the 50 terms to download the e-guide.
Yeah.
And the emails that follow, right? So everything has. So when you download this 50 terms, you get an email. Hey, great for downloading. Have you read this e-guide? And if you download the e-guide, you say, hey, have you read the 50 terms? Because that's all great. You build upon and these things. And like I said, go out and then, talk to people on podcasts or talk to people on other channels. And you mentioned that.
Right. Okay. No, very, very good. I mean, and this, these lead magnets doesn't have to be 40-page.
Oh, no. These have to be very simple, attractive. People can get value out of it. Nobody will read 40 pages document. Nobody will read.
Yeah. I have seen people writing ebooks and trying to put it there. And unfortunately, I have one of that too, which I spent a bunch of money. When I say bunch of money, but a bunch of efforts trying to put it together. But, because it's a book, nobody reads it.
Yeah.
So
that's I would. That's why I said a guide or a 50 questions. So people know it's 50. It's not even 51. 50 terms. I can figure it out. And my next lead magnet was 99 questions you should ask a syndicator before investing. Right.
Got it.
Lead magnets did for a while. And then, so as you can see, the traffic got, my database kept on growing, and I kept feeding them more information. And then during this whole COVID times earlier in the year, I was in India, and I was like, what should I do now? So I said, maybe write an email course, right? That people can get bite-sized chunks of information. So, so 8 emails, 8 days of emails that people, can sign up and just get one piece of email every day. And I call it the 8 pieces of pie for passive investor education. So that, people signed up, and we have over 200 downloads in the first couple of months of that. So it just gets viral, and before you know it, and people are now then going back and saying, okay, who is this guy? What did he done before? And they keep researching you. And
No, that's very, very, very informative, trying to keep the top. The point I'm taking away from this conversation is, if you are creating a lead magnet, create a simple lead magnet, something that everybody, a layman can read it and get some value out of it.
Exactly. My idea is more pictures than words, but that doesn't happen all the time. But if you can do it in a way, then that you've made success there. If you can have more pictures than words, but it doesn't happen all the time. But
and Brendan wants to know, how do you get onto Joe Fearless's podcast? What is the process?
That was just an example, but I think if you keep chasing him and pinging him and showing that how you add value. I haven't reached out to Joe Fearless yet, but I have reached out to Rod Cleef like that. I've reached out to Michael Blank like that. I've reached out to some of the other people saying, hey, Vinny Chopra or whatever. I said, I do this. This is how I add value. Or Adam Adams, right? As Adam Adams, I've figured out systems to, raise capital. You want to talk to me? He said, yeah, absolutely. So that's his thing. So just make a profile of yourself and see how will you add value to the audience of your host, right? So Joe's audience or Michael Blank's audience or, Rod Cleef's audience, what is this audience, right? How will they benefit from you?
Yeah. See, it's not just you, who's looking to go on their web podcast. They're also looking for speakers too.
Absolutely. And, you have to bring out a unique or different perspective of life, right? So initially when I started off, my focus was all data and technology, right? How do I leverage data analytics in the space of real estate world? So, a lot of people are excited about that, right? Not everybody knows how to use data and analytics and what does that really mean, right? I thought this is real estate. This is not, some technology business. So that they get excited there too.
Very good. Very good. So we talked about blogs. We talked about magnets. What next? What is the next topic that you have in mind where you can
So I
add
want
some
to
value?
also talk about one of the things that's been very successful for me is called automation, right?
Yeah.
Marketing automation. So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, at some point when you have, 100 leads or something, you can manage them. But there
Yeah.
comes a point that you don't want to be spending so much time chasing leads. You want to get this leads automatically, right? So what is your thing is automation. What does that basically means that every time you have an interested viewer or reader, how do you keep attention grasped for them, right? What do you do? What do you send out in the first email? What do you send out in the second email? How do you keep them engaged?
Yeah.
Because your ultimate goal is, at least for my case, is make sure I know the person well enough that I can claim that if I get a deal, and I can present the deal to the person, basically knowing their background, and some of that is SEC requirements. You have to know your investors well enough, and you have to have engaged with them. So basically building that relationship and bring him to a point where they say, hey, Raj, I've been hearing about you. I've talked to you. I really am interested in what you do. I've seen what your work you've done. I want to invest with you. And that's the point where I said, that's great. That's a success. You've converted. So when you mention the word funnel, that is sort of the bottom of the funnel, right? So you take the top of the funnel where you have no idea who's reading your blog to now an
Yeah.
investor that knows you well and you know that investor well is actually a verified investor in my terms.
Right.
So that
Right.
is where automation comes in, right? So that's what we do. I mean, like I said, when you sign up when you download an e-guide for passive investors, you send out an email. Thank you for downloading. Do you have any questions? 3 days later, you send another email. Hey, by the way, if you are confused about anything, here is a questions that 99 questions you should be asking. Hey, if these terms confusing to you, download this 50 questions. And then you say, okay, and then then the next thing for me was the whole email campaign, right? So now you're pinging everybody on a daily basis, right? Hey, how did you go? And then now what I've done in my email course is I've injected some of these lead magnets as bonuses, right? So after 2 days, you get the first bonus. After 4 days, you get another bonus. After 6 days, you get another bonus. So now you all have the lead magnets and you have all the knowledge. And then all you're doing is, hey, where are you in your journey? Have you understood? Can I walk you through a deal? So make sure you're constantly engaging them and then ultimately converting them. So now what has happened, to talk about automation, right? Every morning I wake up, right? I have 2 or 3 meetings on my calendar saying, hey, I want to have a call with you. I was like, this is great. Who are you? Where did you find me? So I go backtrack in my CRM, right? To say, okay, this guy had downloaded this guy downloaded that. He's read through my articles. He's taken the email course. And now he's really excited to, partner on the next deal. So let me have a call with him. And what did I do? Nothing. I mean, these all were written 3 months ago, right? All I do is now think about different things and how to keep, and the emails have been written. So you put in the effort, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and now it's just bearing its fruit. And how great is that? You wake up every morning, you have 2 or 3 investors who want to join your investor club.
Very good. That's a very good point. I mean, I hope listeners are getting some value out of it. And Raj, between you and I also created something of that sort in last 3-4 months, and you are seeing all my emails.
Yes, of course I know about it.
Yeah, sort of similar thing, but as you tell me, that I'm more of a camera person, even though I don't look that great, but I like to talk on camera. Then I hate to type. That's my challenge, and my, that's like my class WhatsApp group. I just talk on video rather than typing anything. So that's how I am. But I have done some similar thing,
I want to, when I grow up, I want to be like Prashant.
No, that's not. I mean, yeah, some people like to read. I mean, there are a lot of people
No,
who
I
like
think
to read. So
like I said, it's a different skill, and some people are good at something, some people are good at writing, some people are good at podcast. So
Yeah.
people ask me why don't you host a podcast? I said I don't have to host you don't have to do everything. Just pick 1 or 2 things that you like, you enjoy, and you be consistent on that. That's the other message I want to give to the people here. Just, you don't have to be a podcast host. You don't have to be a blogger. Just pick one thing. Just do that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're good at video, create video blogs. Just put it on YouTube.
Yeah, the other day we were counting how many things can you do. You have Facebook, you have LinkedIn, you have Twitter, you have YouTube, and then you can have ads on all of them, and then you have blogging, and then you have funnels, and then you name it. There are
There
next
is
thing you
there
know,
is there is no end to it. There is no end to it.
you have
So
like 30 things to do.
yeah. So basically, so the next and if you want to move on, so my next part of the journey was when I did all that, and I said, okay, what next, right? I mean, I have done so much, so let's pick on people's brains, right? I mean, that's the next big thing, right? So I created this
Yeah,
whole webinar series that I get experts to talk about on the webinar, right? So Vinny
yeah.
Chopra, Neil Bawa,
Hmm.
whoever can come and add value. Sometimes we talk about multifamily, sometimes we talk about student housing, sometimes we talk about just taxes, right? So anything
Yeah,
and everything that would impress or will influence people making decisions, we do that, and just keep at it.
very good. I mean, and that's a lot of work, by the way. I mean, trying to arrange all that and channelize all this. I mean,
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but I think at some point you get to a point where it's not work. I mean, that much work. It's obviously to start anything off is a work, but again,
yeah,
you want to be smart and work smarter, not harder. So you keep doing
yeah.
it in a smarter way, you get better at it.
Right, right. So, what do you suggest should be the frequency of a webinar series? I mean,
So
some people
again,
do.
webinar I started just like my blogs. I was doing it every week, but then it gets
Yeah,
tiring, and people, and also I don't expect everybody to take a Tuesday
yeah,
evening or Thursday evening off to listen to my webinar. So I went
yeah.
from once a week to twice, once in 2 weeks. And that's where I
Okay.
stayed on. And then I slowed down a little bit in the summer because I'm taking some downtime for myself.
Right.
Kids were home for all summer. I said, let me spend some time versus going down to
Yeah.
the basement at 8 p.m. Um,
Uh-huh.
but so but again, if somebody at least once in 2 weeks is a great idea
Mhm.
to do that.
Okay. Okay.
The other thing,
So,
other message that I had for you, and I wrote it down.
yeah,
It's never too early to start this thing, right? The
yeah,
worst thing you can do is you have a deal and then start your marketing. That is going to be
yeah,
a total disaster. You'll not be able to do that. So this
yeah,
is an ongoing process. It takes time. Maybe not for the first deal, for the second deal, just builds
yeah,
and builds and builds on your credibility. So if somebody is asking when should I start, my answer
yeah,
is yesterday.
yeah,
Yesterday I started this.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's something that should be done as a parallel process. So as we talk about, what do you see in in a syndication business? What are the two things which are most important? One is
Right.
investors, and second is a deal flow, right? So while you're working on deal flow, talking to the brokers and everything, you have to work on your investor marketing also. Whether you have a deal or not, your investor marketing should continue.
Right. So now we are at a point, investors are saying, hey, where is the next deal, right? So you
Yeah,
have to get better to be at that point versus, hey, I have a deal. Where are the investors?
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what marketing helps you to do.
Yeah, and many times because of SEC rules, when you have a deal, you cannot market to the
Exactly.
investors.
Exactly.
It's better to have investors before
Right.
you have the deal.
Exactly.
So very good. Okay, so what are the technology involved? Let's talk about a little bit about the technology. What?
Absolutely. 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 So I mean, initially when I started, and I'm going to give you my journey, right? Because
Yeah, yeah,
probably a lot of people's journey, or maybe they're ahead or behind, whatever, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
So when I started off, I basically started off from my website. Right? I mean, that's what it is. It's basic website that just keep it simple, keep it informative. Don't have to have too much flashy things. It's always good to have referrals on the website. That was one thing that's very important. So anybody who
mhm,
even attended your meetups, right? I mean, so they can talk about, hey, I went to Raj's meetup. Great information that he produces there. And if you have investors, then get investors there. Or if you have
yeah,
partners, right? I mean, I have referrals on my from property management companies that we have dealt with. So you can create references. And then my database was Mailchimp. I mean, it is free tool, and I was just emailing through Mailchimp, and then you can, and a lot of people still do that. But I switched from Mailchimp to Active Campaign because I wanted to do the whole marketing automation, something that you cannot do in Mailchimp. So if you want to, set up an email and have these triggers and every other thing that follow up on a nightly basis, or an email code that goes on its own every morning, that's where I, switch to Active Campaign, so that I can just program these things and they, kind of automatically start drifting towards. So Active Campaign is a technology that we use. Of course, if you're doing webinars, then you have to invest in Zoom. Other than that, there's not too much. I mean, you can spend a lot of money, or just keep it simple budgeted. I mean, I do simple budgeted things. Yeah, you can spend on Facebook ads, or you can do a lot of other gimmicky things. But what I've done is also found a good set of people that help me with my sort of graphics creation and all that. And I have a good company in India that does that for me. So I've kept it low budget, and that's all I need. I mean, that's all I need. Other than this, creative, your creative thinking, which you can't put a price tag on. But just keep using that, talking to people, get involved with different people, get on podcasts. Everything is no technology needed.
Very good. I mean, yeah, I know you have to have a little bit of budget, for things like Active Campaign. They cost a little bit of money, but it's not terribly.
Right. It's not bad. It's not terribly expensive. I mean, I'm getting to a point that, my database has increased significant, that my next layer, I have to invest in a layer of Active, which is a good problem to have, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think to start off, it was very cheap for, almost a year.
Yeah. What would be your suggestion? I know, I mean, we are talking about Active Campaign, and there are a bunch of other tools like ClickFunnels or Kartra. I mean, yes, they are there, but I mean, folks like those who are working full time, I mean, they have to spend some time to set those things up, right? I mean, it's not that, tool is there and it will all set it up for you.
Yeah.
Some time has to be spent to make it work for you. I mean, what is your suggestion? I mean, should folks hire a company, or how much time effort do you think it might need for somebody to start doing things?
I think it's not that much time, honestly. Maybe because we are technology background people, we know these things. And for me personally, I had already worked on HubSpot before I even switched on the marketing world in real estate. So, I mean, of course, there are tools out there. I mean, at some point you say, okay, which is the most convenient, easy to use, and most inexpensive one, right? And people have different choices, whether you on website or you want to just build your pages on ClickFunnels, right? I mean, I said, okay, website is simple, because I had some people working on websites, easy to maintain it. And that's how I did it. But yeah, there is time, effort needed. There's tons of tools, free tools out there that you can learn from. Active Campaign, I'm not recommending them. I don't have no association with them, but they have tons of videos, free videos, and they have, online help that you can get from them to get involved. And then there's other coaching programs that you can be part of. I mean, I teach for free to a lot of people, saying, how do you do this? How do you do that? At some point, maybe I'll start charging it, but for now, it's all, if you have a simple question, I'm happy to help out. But there's tons of resources on YouTube or whatever you can use.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, I think the most important thing here is, if you are doing marketing, if you want to do the marketing, you have to start yesterday, right? I mean, it's not like you start tomorrow when you have a deal. I think that's a very good point, Raj. And all of us get trapped into that. I mean, we don't have a deal. Should we market or should we not?
Yeah.
Right.
And I realized that when I was in a group, I know some smart syndicators, and they were actually struggling to close the fund. I mean, you guys are brilliant. You've done this. Why are you struggling to do this? And that kind of triggered me to think that what is the issue? But the issue was that they were reaching out to investors once they had a deal. I said, no, it's not going to work, because, and this is, you start today, maybe you get, investors like in 6 months. I mean, it's taken me 2 years, right? And I'm at this point. So like I said, it's not overnight magic. The getting to the top of Google doesn't happen overnight. Everything takes time.
Yeah. No, that's a very good, I think, takeaway, at least for me, basically. And I've been doing it during the whole COVID time. I was spending so much time trying to build my website. I created a website, myrealitygains.com, and that has a funnel, on approximately on the similar fundamentals which Raj talked about. So very good. No, that's very helpful. Guys, are there any questions on this? Anything that you have not understood, or anything that we want to ask? Please feel free to ask, because it's an open forum today. We have a few more minutes before we close. I mean, towards the end, I would like to share one deal which I have. So. Yeah, so Madhvi says, thank you so much. Yeah, I actually had called Madhvi just before this webinar and she had not picked up my phone. And now she says, okay, good. Now I'm going to talk to her tomorrow. She has to come to my webinar in a couple of
Madhuri.
months. Yeah, yeah. No, very good to see you, Madhvi, too. Any more questions, guys? Anything else, Raj, you want to add to your point? I mean, do you have anything more to say?
Brandon was trying to ask something. Brandon, were you trying to ask something? Okay.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, I would definitely say that, I mean, I covered a lot of things. I don't know if it was in some order. I didn't plan for any slides, so a lot of it is my journey, and I'm happy to share anybody who wants to learn more. I mean, it's easily accessible between my meetings. My email is raj@smartcapitalmgmt.com. Feel free to reach out to me, and even through my website or whatever, happy to help. And maybe if you have a talk, maybe some other ideas will come up, and maybe you are in a journey at some point that is different from mine, and that's absolutely fine. Happy to help in any shape, form I could, and that's all. I mean, but again, that's time to start is, like I said, now. Just do it. Just do it. Whatever you want to do it. Either get on somebody's podcast or get on to write a blog, and it's put it on Facebook. Or find the right people to connect with. That's all it is. That's all it is.
So yeah, somebody is asking, Saurabh is asking, he asks all these weird questions, Saurabh, I mean, I'm just giving him a hard time. He says, I have a big picture question. Why do syndicators do this?
Do this as in, why do they do marketing?
Yes, I think that's what he means. I mean, I'm just giving him a hard time. That's not the purpose. I appreciate your question, Saurabh. Yeah, please go ahead.
So I'll assume when he says, why do syndicators do this? And it's this, given the topic today is, why do syndicators do digital marketing? Like I said, I mean, it's a very important part of the game. Unless you have all the pieces together that you can figure it out, which means all the networks, all the network people that you need to work with, partnerships. It's a marketing game. It's a marketing game. And there is, how will somebody invest or with Saurabh, right, versus Prashant? Because Saurabh here has, built that trust. And that's why syndicators do that. There is too many deals out there. You want to work with people that you trust. It's essentially a trust game. And you build trust by adding value, and you add value by doing marketing.
Yeah, so as I was saying, to add to your point, Raj, there are two things in syndication business. One is investors. Number two is deal flow, right? Fundamental, if you don't have investors and if you have a deal, it's useless. If you have investors, you don't have a deal, that also is useless. So you always work on both the things at the same time. Even if you don't have a deal, you always continue to nurture your investor. I mean, unless you go to a point where you are just taking the private equity from, places where, but that's not typically is the syndication model, right? I mean, people, those who are mid-level syndicators, they don't like to go to, private equity groups for money. They try to get the money from retail investors. And unless you are out there, you don't build the trust. Investors are not there with you, basically. So, I mean, Saurabh is saying, what is the economic carrot that syndicators get driven by?
What is the economic what, sorry?
No, he's saying, I meant doing all this 24/7 for 2 years. What is the economic carrot that syndicators get driven by? What is the real benefit you got in 2 years by doing this?
Okay. Well, I don't know if you can put that in any measurable quantity. I have a bunch of people that trust me on what I do. I have investor base that has grown significantly. And I can close, again, I shouldn't say that, but I can raise millions in a matter of, days. But, it's all because of the stuff that we have built over the years. I mean, it takes time and relationships, your trust. Like I said, people out there are saying, Raj, when is the next deal coming? Try that without, not doing anything.
No, so, and that starts snowballing, at some point, yes, you have spent 2 years, but and it took 2 years, but now it is a snowball effect. Now you don't have to do it. Now you get up in the morning and you have 2 appointments on your calendar without doing anything.
Exactly.
So but now you are putting your effort in the direction where you can find a deal. So yes, it is a learning curve even for syndicators also. Say, and that's the carrot, I mean, being famous, being known in the world, when you go out, people know you. Somebody comes to me. I mean, I remember, when I was doing my Facebook live, somebody would come to me, hey, are you Prashant? You are the one who does the Facebook lives. So it kind of feels good. I mean, not that it's an economic carrot, it's a satisfaction.
It is, yeah. Sometimes it's very self-satisfactory to do that.
Yeah. So very good. Chike is asking, what would you change if you are pursuing institutional capital versus retail investor?
Okay, good. That's a great question, Chiki. That's how to pronounce it. But the question is institutional versus retail. I mean, institutional, it's less of education about. So let's talk about retail. Retail is, a lot of education. These are people that are busy professionals that do something else for a living, want to diversify, or you have to educate them on, why you should diversify, what are the tax advantages. So a lot of educational pieces on generally, about the asset class. When it comes to institutional, these guys are very smart. They don't want to be told, what the pref rate is or what the thing is. You want to show them what makes you different and why should they be investing with you. What is about that deal? How will you make sure that it's not about, it gets more into diligence, more about what kind of diligence, because institutional people will do a lot more diligence on you and your deal than a retail investor would do. Retail investor is a lot of trust factor in your personality, in you. Institutional are putting a lot more money and they will do a thorough due diligence. So you should be ready in a very different ways to do it. And that's, you have to be ready in any ways, but you better be ready explaining each and every component of your due diligence to an institutional investor versus a retail.
Very good. Well, that's a very good point. In addition to that, you should be willing to give up a lot more portion to institutional investor in a deal than versus raising money with the retail investors.
Yeah.
So that's I mean, I've gone through it. I mean, some of the time I'll share my experience. I mean, at least for next 5 years, I'm not going to the institutional investors. I have had my fair share of horrific nightmares with some of them. So very good. All right, we have a little bit more time, and I just want to take 1 minute just to share something with the group, and I'm going to share my screen. And that's something basically, let me know if you guys can see my screen, when you can see my screen. So as I said, we are also syndicators, like Raj, and it just happened that yesterday we signed the contract on a deal, and I'm just sharing the deal. I'm not asking, not soliciting anything at all. That's not the purpose, and I have not written anything in this presentation because I do not have existing relationship with some of the individuals. So it is only for the entertainment purposes. I just wanted to share that I have gone into a deal in a contract for 228 unit in Shreveport, Louisiana. The name of the property is Lakeville Townhomes. And if you can see my screen, right? You see the picture on my screen? Raj, do you see my picture?
We can see it.
Okay. So just wanted to make sure. Okay, so this is the property that I have gone into the contract, and we just signed the contract yesterday. 228 unit, Class C, true Class C property in a true B plus area. I mean, I have not seen. I've seen a lot of properties, but nothing like this, where there is a huge value add component. True C minus, I would say C minus kind of an asset. The reason why it has been like that, the owner had passed away about a year ago, and they had different businesses and all. So we put a tab on it. We were trying to work with them for the last couple of months. So finally they signed the contract. We got a very good basis, 30,000 per door. and there is huge potential for rent increase. And I'll just share a few statistics. And this is a loan assumption. Yes, our rate is a little bit higher because it is CMBS loan assumption. A little bit older property, but we have looked at the property. It has a lot of potential. We are buying it at 6.9 million, and we think that it would have approximately $2 million worth of renovation. If we can do that if we can do that in about a year, we would have at least $100, maybe more, $150 rent bump in about a year's time. So that's all I want to share. Number wise, it is a good deal. And I don't want to say the numbers here on the webinar because of the existing relationships, but very good numbers. And we are very excited to have this deal, about $30,000 per door. So those who are on the webinar, I'm sure they will get emails from me in about 2-3 weeks. We have not opened it up for investments, soft commitment or anything like that. But eventually we will send some information out there. So that's all I just wanted to share with everybody, because I got an opportunity and I felt better. I was working on it for the last couple of months and it just happened yesterday. So yeah, that's it. I guys, feel free to give your email addresses here, network with anybody. I'm going to keep it open for another couple of minutes. And as I said, I also had done a 7-day email course for which I have given a link here. Saurabh says, congratulations. Thank you so much. This is Raj's email ID, raj@smartcapitalmanagement.com. My email ID is prashant@myrealtygains.com. And you have a 7-day email course which you can click and subscribe. Yes, that's all I have. Any more questions, guys? We can be here for another couple of minutes if you don't mind. I don't think people are there. People are not asking any more questions. So Raj sir, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, Prashant. Thank you for having me. And like I said, my email is there. Anybody happy to help if anybody has any questions on digital marketing. And good luck to everybody here, and good luck to you. And it was nice to be here today.
Yeah, no, your comments were well taken. At least I picked up a lot of things, and I'm going to implement them in my marketing. So I'm very selfish. By talking to you, I'm making some notes in my mind. And same with me also. If there's anything I can do for the group or for you, especially Raj sir, feel free to reach out. And again, thank you so much, guys. Good night, everybody, and take care.
Good night.
Bye now, guys. I'm going to stop recording.